I want to tell you about a ledger, not a big one. Just a small pearl gray book my grandmother pressed into my hands the morning I graduated college. She didn't say congratulations. She didn't cry the way grandmothers do in movies. She just set it on the table between us, with her handwriting already on the first page. One sentence: write down everything. Trust no one's memory but paper. I carried that ledger for 11 years. I wrote in it every month, every transfer, every bill paid, every silence kept, and on the morning of day 2847, I opened it one last time, and I let my family read what their love had actually cost me. Not with anger, not with tears, just with numbers, the way my grandmother taught me. My name is Claire. I am 34 years old. I am a senior financial analyst, and for 2,847 days, that is 7 years, 10 months, and 12 days, I was my family's silent invisible bank. They didn't know I was counting. They should have known I was always counting. Who I was. Before they started spending me. I grew up in a 2-bedroom house in a town small enough that your mistakes arrive before you do. My mother's name was Diane. My father's name was Robert. My younger sister's name was Lily. And from the time I was old enough to understand numbers, I understood one thing clearly. I was the one who would carry this family. Not because anyone said so, because I was the one who could. By the time I was 19, I had 2 jobs and a scholarship. By 22, I had a finance degree and a job offer that made my father go quiet in a way I'd never seen before. He wasn't proud. He was calculating. I could see it in his eyes. The way a man looks at a resource, not a daughter. My grandmother Eleanor, we called her Nana L, saw it too. She pulled me aside at my graduation dinner in the kitchen. Away from the noise, she smelled like lavender and old books. She pressed the pearl gray ledger into my hands. Claire, she said, you are going to be very good at taking care of people. She wasn't smiling when she said it. Make sure you write down everything. Buck, because the people you carry will forget the weight the moment you set them down. Buck, I didn't understand her then. I thought she was being dramatic. I was 22. I thought love was enough to hold a family together. I was wrong. But I kept the ledger, and I kept writing. By 26, I was a financial analyst at a firm downtown. I read other people's money for a living. I found the errors no one else caught. I built the models that saved companies from their own blind spots. Numbers, for me, were not cold. They were honest. In a world full of people who said one thing and meant another, numbers never lied. My apartment was small. My car was secondhand. My savings account was growing. The way savings accounts grow when you are careful and quiet and you don't spend money on things that don't matter. I had a plan. I had always had a plan. And then on a Tuesday in October, my father called. And the plan became something else entirely. The first transfer. And what it actually started. My father's voice on the phone was a voice I hadn't heard before. Then ashamed. Asking, Claire, we're in trouble. The mortgage is 3 months behind. If we don't pay by Friday, we lose the house. I sat at my desk with the phone against my ear and I looked at my screen. The model I'd been building for a client worth $200 million. And I felt the floor tilt. How much? I asked. 4,200. Just to catch up. I transferred the money that night. I opened the pearl gray ledger. I wrote the date, the amount. One word beside it. Mortgage. I told myself it was once. It was not once. What started as a mortgage payment became a monthly arrangement no one ever officially agreed to. It simply became expected. The way the sun rises, the way taxes come due, the way Claire sends money on the first of every month. 1. Sit. 800. 606 for my father's heart medication. He'd been diagnosed at 53. The year before I graduated. $400 for what my mother called household expenses. A category so vague it could swallow anything. Then Lily. My younger sister Lily, 24 years old, studying something that changed every 8 months. Photography, then wellness coaching, then content creation, needed $500 a month for her business development. I wrote it all down, every month, every number, every silence, in the pearl gray ledger with Nana L's handwriting on the first page. By the end of year 1, I had transferred $38,400. I told myself it was an investment in the family. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself a lot of things in those early years that turned out not to be true. The thing about being the family accountant is that you see the numbers no one else is looking at. And by year 3, the numbers were telling me a story my family was not. My father's medication should have cost $400 a month. But the pharmacy receipts he sent me, when he bothered to send them, didn't add up to $400. They added up to $180, the other $220 a month, $7,920 over 3 years. I traced to cash withdrawals near a casino 40 minutes from their house. I sat with that number for a long time. I didn't confront anyone. I'm an analyst. I don't confront. I document, I open the ledger. I wrote it down, and I kept writing. 7 years of writing. And what the ledger finally said. Here is what 7 years looks like in a pearl gray ledger. 1, $800 per month. Mortgage $600 per month. Father's medication $400 per month. Household $100 per month. Lily's business $300 per month. Multiplied by 12 months. Multiplied by 7 years $277,200. I didn't cry when I added it up. I'm an accountant. I just looked at the number and let it be what it was. But here is what the ledger also showed me. In 7 years, the mortgage had been paid 31 times out of 84. My father's real medication receipts accounted for $15,120, the rest, $29,400 untraceable. Cash withdrawals, restaurants I'd never been invited to, a vacation to Florida I found out about from a photograph on my mother's phone that I saw by accident one Sunday. And Lily's $500 a month for business development. Had funded 3 cameras, a ring light, a trip to Bali for content, and a lease on a car I didn't know existed until her boyfriend mentioned it at Christmas dinner. The car was $847 a month. I was sending $500. Someone was covering the rest. I opened the ledger that night and wrote one question in the margin. Who else? I didn't have to wait long for the answer. It came from my grandmother, Nana L. 81 years old, living in a care facility 40 minutes from my apartment. Called me on a Wednesday morning at 6:47 a.m. I was already at my desk. Analysts are always already at their desks. Claire, she said. Her voice was thinner than I remembered, but her mind was still the sharpest thing in any room she entered. I need you to come see me. Bring the ledger. I hadn't told anyone about the ledger. How do you know about? Because I gave it to you, she said. And I know what it's for. Come Saturday. And don't tell your mother. I drove to see her that Saturday with the pearl gray ledger on the passenger seat. And what she told me changed the shape of everything. What my grandmother had been watching. For 11 years, Nana L's room at the care facility smelled like lavender and old paper. The same way she had always smelled. She was sitting by the window in her good chair, not the wheelchair. The good chair, the one she reserved for conversations that mattered. She looked at the ledger in my hands and nodded once. Show me, she said. I sat beside her and I opened it page by page. 7 years of numbers. She didn't speak while I showed her. She wore reading glasses now, thin gold frames she would have called unnecessary years ago. She read every page, every number, every month. When she reached the last entry, she closed the ledger carefully. The way you close something sacred, and she held it in her lap with both hands. 277,000, she said. Not a question, a verdict. Nana. Don't apologize for the number, she said quietly. It isn't your number to apologize for. She reached into the drawer beside her chair and pulled out a folder. Thick official, a law firm's name on the cover. I've been keeping my own ledger, she said. Since the years you graduated. She opened the folder and she showed what she had been watching for 11 years. Nana L had not spent the last 11 years simply growing old. She had spent them watching her daughter, my mother, Diane, slowly redirect what had always been intended as my inheritance. Nana L owned the house. My parents lived there. They didn't pay a mortgage. I thought I was paying a mortgage. I was paying rento my grandmother, that my parents were pocketing, for 7 years, $1,800 a month. $151,200, going directly into my mother's account, not a mortgage. Never a mortgage. The house had been paid off in 1987. I sat in that good chair beside her and felt the room go very still. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Nana L looked out the window. Because you wouldn't have believed me. You needed to see the numbers yourself. That's what the ledger was for. She tapped the law firm folder. 3 months ago, I changed my will. Everything, the house, the accounts, the investments, goes into a trust. Your name is on the trust, your mother's name is not. She looked at me then. The way she had looked at me at graduation. Not proudly, but seriously. The house your parents live in belongs to you now. It has always belonged to the family. Now it belongs to you specifically. What do I do with that? I asked. She almost smiled. Whatever you decides, but decide with the ledger open, not with your heart. I drove home that Saturday evening, with the pearl gray ledger and a copy of the trust document and the specific crystalline feeling of a woman who has blindly seen all the numbers, not angry, not devastated, just clear, the way a spreadsheet is clear when the last cell fills in and the formula finally resolves. The family meeting, they called. And what I brought to it. My mother called a family meeting 3 weeks later. The timing was not accidental. Nana L's lawyer had sent a letter to my parents informing them of the trust change. My mother's voice on the phone was warm. The specific warmth she reserved for situations where she needed something. We just want to talk, Claire. As a family, we feel like you've been pulling away from us. Pulling away. I had sent $3,300 a month for 7 years and I had pulled away. I agreed to come. Because my grandmother had taught me something about the truth. It doesn't belong in a phone call. It belongs in a room where no one can hang up. They were all there when I arrived. My mother, Diane. My father, Robert. My sister, Lily. And Lily's boyfriend, Marcus, who had no business being there, but was eating from a bowl of chips in the corner. My mother had made the living room beautiful, flowers on the table, tea ready, the specific theater of a woman who wants you to feel that everything is fine before she tells you what she needs. Sit down, sweetheart, she said. I sat. I set the pearl gray ledger on the table in front of me. My mother looked at it. Something flickered in her eyes. She began the performance she had prepared. How worried they had been. How hard things had been. How the family sticks together. How the trust change had blindsided them. How Nana L was getting old and perhaps wasn't thinking clearly. My father nodded along. Lily looked at her phone. Then my mother reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. We need you to talk to Nana L. Ask her to reverse the trust. You're her favorite, she'll listen to you. The room went quiet. I looked at my mother's hand on mine. Then I opened the ledger. I didn't raise my voice. I simply turned it to face her page by page. 7 years, every number, every month, every dollar traced. The mortgage, I said quietly. There is no mortgage, the house has been paid off since 1987. I've been paying you rent, you told me was a mortgage for 7 years. Silence. Dad's medication $600 a month, the actual medication costs $180, the other $420. I turned to the page. Went here, cash withdrawals, 40 minutes from the casino and 43 separate transactions. My father looked at the table. My mother's hand left mine. Lily's business development fund. Lily looked up from her phone. $500 a month for 4 years, $24,000. I found 3 cameras, a Bali trip tagged on Instagram, and a car lease for $847 a month. The ledger shows $500 from me. Someone was covering the other $347. I looked at Marcus in the corner. He set down the chip bowl. Total transferred in 7 years, months, and 12 days. I turned to the last page. 277. The number sat in the room like a piece of furniture no one had noticed before. My mother opened her mouth. The performance tried to reassemble itself. Claire, we are your family, I know, I said. And I have the receipts for every year of it. What happened after? And where I am now. I didn't move my parents out of the house. I want to be clear about that because people always ask. I'm not interested in putting elderly people on the street. That isn't who I am. But the arrangement changed. The house is now in the trust with my name as trustee. My parents live there. They pay no rent, but they also receive no money from me. Not a cent. The account that had sent $300 in the first of every month for 7 years and 10th month sent nothing on the first of the next month. My father's medication, the real medication, is covered by his insurance. It always was. I called the insurance company. It took 11 minutes to confirm he had prescription coverage that paid for 90% of his cardiac medication. 11 minutes, 7 years. Lily called me twice. The first call was angry. The second call was quiet. The specific quiet of a person who has for the first time, had to look at their own numbers and found them wanting. She got a job, a real one, at an accounting firm, which I find darkly appropriate. My mother did not speak to me for 4 months. When she finally called, she didn't apologize. She said she hoped I was happy now. I told her, gently, that I was. Not because I had won. Because I had stopped losing without knowing I was losing. That is a different thing. Nana L turned 82 in April. I drove to see her with flowers. Lavender, the way she liked. And we sat by the window in her good chair and she asked me to read her the last entry in the pearl gray ledger. I opened it. The last entry was 3 months old, the date, the amount, and beside it, not a mortgage, not medication, not household, just one word. She listened to me read it. She was quiet for a long moment, then she reached over and took my hand, the way she had at graduation, not sentimentally, but seriously. And she said the thing I had needed to hear for 11 years. You were never their bank, Claire. You were their daughter. There is a difference, and it took you 7 years to let yourself know it. I looked at the ledger in my lap, the pearl gray cover, her handwriting on the first page. Write down everything, trust no one's memory but paper. She had given me the ledger so I would see it when the time came. She had always known the time would come. She had just been patient enough to wait until I was ready. I closed it for the last time, and I left it with her. It was hers, after all. She had only lent it to me until I didn't need it anymore. Where I am now. And what I want you to know. Today I live in a small apartment, with a good kitchen and a savings account, that grows the way savings accounts grow when no one else is spending it. I still work in finance. I still read other people's numbers for a living. But now, when I open a ledger, any ledger, I check for the thing I was too close to see on my own. The number that doesn't add up, the category too vague to question, the just once, that became every month. If you are sitting somewhere right now, watching this, and you recognize yourself in this story, I want you to do one thing. Open your banking app, not tomorrow, tonight. Look at the recurring transfers. Count them, add them up, pat the number down, because numbers don't lie, and neither does paper. And the truth, however long it takes to arrive, always balances in the end. My grandmother taught me that before I knew I needed to know it. Some women scream when they're hurt. I don't. I get very, very quiet, and then I open the ledger. If this story reached you tonight, if you have ever been one who carries without anyone counting, drop a rose in the comments. I'll know you were here. I'm Rose, and this has been Thorns and Pearls.